Today we are going to talk about personal transformation. I want to share with you powerful examples of personal transformation that I find personally inspiring, and hopefully you'll find some inspiration from this. So first example I want to share with you is Grant Cardone. I don't know if you're familiar with Grant Cardone, but if you're not, look him up. He is a major name right now. I think he's like the #1 trainer in the world. He has huge shows to do with business and training. Like literally he takes on stadiums and has shows that includes business presentations, rap, and Grant Cardone is very charismatic and very personable and really a nice guy to be around and to learn from. Now the reason I want to mention him is because his story is fascinating. So back in the day he was an accountant, and then he was forced to later on take on a position in sales, and he was so poor at sales that he had a wake-up call one day when a client told him to sober up or find another job because he was so poor at selling to this person who was a client. So many things happened to Grant Cardone, but in the end he took some sales classes, and then he became the most effective and high earning salesperson in his company. And then he used all his savings and created a property investment company, and he started buying property as an investor, and he grew from there onwards. So now Grant Cardone has a number of companies. One of them is a training company. He uses to train people in sales because this is his bread and butter. And also he has a company that does property investment, and people can invest alongside him. He's using his own money so people can invest with him in property. He's doing residential property investments. The reason I'm telling you about Grant Cardone is because about maybe 11-12 years ago, I remember listening to some obscure podcasts on the internet where Grant Cardone was showing up as a guest, and he was being interviewed by the podcasters, and not just one show. I've listened to a number of shows, and I remember back then, so keep in mind again, it was 11-12 years ago, he was saying basically, look, I'm Grant Cardone. You may not have heard about me. That's okay, man, no problem. The fact that you haven't heard about me yet and my name is new to you, that's on me. That's my fault. So I'm here to rectify that. And then he introduced himself, what he's done in his life, what are the projects for the future. Basically, all this work that Grant Cardone has done 11-12 years ago, and perhaps even before then, to build a name for himself has inspired me personally, because look at what he's achieved now. He's known everywhere on the globe, but he's done the groundwork. Probably he had to overcome some personal challenges of his own in terms of public speaking, given that he seems to me like an introvert, and he had to take on attributes of an extrovert person, working in sales, promoting himself, promoting his business. He was saying in one of his videos, he spent years going around the globe, paying for his own travel, paying to be interviewed, or being interviewed for no money at all, and him sharing with people about his experience, giving people some information on how to progress in property investment and life, but in the meantime building a name for himself. And he is saying he started all this at the age of 45. So Grant Cardone was 45 years old when he started his ambition to build his empire by building his brand, literally. So Grant Cardone realized that he can only go so far by working on his own and investing his own money and growing based on his own abilities. And then he reached a stage in his development when he realized that in order to go further, he has to have a tribe. He has to build an audience. He has to build his own tribe. So his efforts to travel the world and talk about himself and creating his brand, creating brand awareness about him and his company and his projects, created the Grant Cardone and the success that we know today as Grant Cardone. When I heard about Grant Cardone's story, and having heard about him early on, more than a decade ago, I'm remembering his name, remembering his story, and what I remember is his approach is like, man, no problem. You haven't heard of me? That's totally no problem. That's my fault. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to take charge. I'm going to tell you who I am, what I'm going to do. So if Grant Cardone was able to start building his empire at 45, then the inspiration I took from this story is that I can start building my YouTube channel at 41. It's no problem. It's never too late to start. So Grant Cardone is now in his 60s, in his early 60s. He's looking great. He's doing great. He has a great business. Everybody knows him. So I take inspiration from this and I take strength. I think to myself, look, I can start my YouTube channel at 41, no problem. I still have a long way to go. I can start small, build up. So Grant Cardone is a powerful example of personal transformation. I suggest you look him up, look up his story. He's absolutely amazing. Another example is something more of an emotional example, I would say. So a few weeks ago, I was at a Bollywood theme restaurant, and there was an Indian chef, very famous in Bombay, that was opening his Indian restaurant in London, and that was sort of part of the promotion for the event, for the opening of the restaurant. And I was really touched because the whole show was so powerful, and what made it more powerful is the storytelling, because there were a lot of elements to do with dancing and performing. And the chef, so the actual owner of the Indian restaurant, who apparently is very famous in Bombay, very famous as a chef for the stars in Bollywood, he came on stage many times throughout the show, and he is in his 70s, maybe mid 70s. And to see somebody in his 70s still going strong and still feeling a sense of drive and purpose, it really touched my heart. And the most emotional point in the event was the last story displayed on stage through dancing, was the story of how he met his wife many decades ago, and how they met each other, how they got married, how they built a famous restaurant in Bombay. And it was so much emotion, and you could see in his spirit, in his face, in his body language. The pinnacle of the whole story, of the whole show, was his desire to create an experience for the audience, to share with them his love story with his wife, how they got together. And to me, that was very moving. And it just tells you that a person like that in the 70s, he could retire easily. He would not need to worry. He already has a famous restaurant in Bombay. He really doesn't need to open another restaurant in London. And to have such a goal and such a drive in his 70s, it tells me that this person is the embodiment of personal transformation, much like Cardone. And one thing to take away from this is that sometimes personal transformation can be a life journey. Sometimes you get a taste for it, you transform something in your life, and then it's a continuous process afterward. And sometimes it can be, and it can feel like one explosive transformation after another, after another. So sometimes there are people like that who they go from one peak to another peak, and they never stop. They literally never stop. They never go back to who they were. And I want you to take away from this video the strength to first self-analyze and see where you can implement personal transformation in your own life, what aspects you need to tackle right away. Don't postpone, just do it right away. Start with whatever you can, and you will see results, and not only results brought by your transformation, but also in confidence, a major confidence boost. And then again, you can bring about transformation anytime you want, because you already had a successful case of bringing about transformation in your own life. I hope this helped you. I hope this was inspiring. The next thing I suggest you watch is 2 playlists I made on personal transformation. One playlist is about best personal transformation advice. The other playlist is all about personal transformation resources. So I'll link them both up. Okay, check them out. If you like this video, share, like, and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me if this video helped you. Share with us any insights on personal transformation. I'll see you in one of my next videos soon. Take care.